Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday. If you enjoy this video, hit that like button, and if you want to submit to be on the show, take a look at the information in the description.
I have a hand from a 1-3 live uncapped underground game at the Midway Poker Club that used to run in Chicago.
Midway? Is that like Midway Airport? Is that like a part of Chicago,
yes,
Midway?
Yes, but the location actually moved, so they kept the name even though this was more towards downtown when this hand occurred.
But is Midway like a part of Chicago? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like Garfield Ridge neighborhood,
Oh, okay.
but a lot of people call it Midway because the airport's right there. So,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. All right, so 1-3 no limit underground game. Yep.
Yep, uncapped. People typically buy in for about 300 to 500 originally.
Okay.
Could get pretty big as the night goes on, but we were early on in the night.
Yep.
In this particular hand.
Yep.
So in the hand, hero starts with 400,
Okay.
and the villain covers.
Okay.
And the villain, just a quick background, is a heavy-set, talkative, funny guy, likes to joke around, talks a lot during hands. Played with him maybe 3 times in the last few weeks.
Okay.
Before this particular hand took place.
Okay.
So in the hand, the villain opened to $6 under the gun +2, which was pretty unusual. The game, usually the regular opening size was between $12 and $15.
So he min raises. He min raises from under.
He min raises.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Under the gun +2, and he had one caller in mid position.
Okay. MP1 calls.
And then hero 3 bets from the cutoff to $22 with 10-7 of spades.
Whoa! Now, what's your reasoning here? That's a little bit out there. Is it just is it because of this? So I can maybe see where you're going with.
Small size.
Right. So what I was going to say is I'll go ahead and then you can say. But what I was going to say is one of the things that I talk about on a lot of my training stuff is that this is actually a spot. Forget about the composition over here. You're going to have people come in and say, "Oh, yeah, it's just a fold. It's just a fold," which is fine. Yes, on paper, you probably, we've talked about this before. More than one gapper, they just don't connect. I mean, the computer modeling has just shown that the hands are just the more directly suited connector, are just infinitely almost more. The more you're going to have equity in the form of some sort of equity. Direct suited connectors being even better than gap suited connectors. But one of the things that I've said for a long time on Crush Live Poker is that if you actually want to experiment with 3-bet bluffing a little bit, one of the places that you can find it in is when somebody makes a raise size that's really, really non-standardly small and there's dead money out here. This isn't exactly... What's your name?
Matt.
This isn't exactly the spot, though, Matt. What I usually will hop on, Matt, is when a couple people limp in. Let's say in your game here, like maybe 2 people limped in, and then a guy raised it to like 9. That is almost never a strong hand. Like say someone was in the hijack and made it like 3x after 2 people limped in. That is almost never, ever a strong hand. That's almost always a pot sweetener. This is a little bit different because you don't exactly know what's going on here with this guy min raising, but I can sort of see what you're talking about here. It's probably better to 3-bet this hand than to call to try to get a heads up and pick up the dead money. It definitely is a little bit out there pre-flop. So you 3-bet 10-7 of spades. Okay.
For sure. Yeah. And definitely out there, definitely one of the weirder hands I ever played, and also was a few years back where I was much less experienced and probably made plenty of mistakes.
Yeah.
So the original raiser verbally says, "I'll play bad one time," and calls, and then mid position folds.
Okay, so you get a heads up. So pot's like about $50,
the flop comes down. Yeah, around $54.
Okay.
So the flop comes out: Queen of clubs, 8 of spades, 5 of hearts, and the villain checks.
Queen of clubs, 8 of spades, 5 of hearts. So you've got, I guess, a backdoor flush draw. See how if you had like 9, 10 of spades here, this would be better. Right?
Sure.
I mean, you've got some backdoors here, but okay. I mean, yeah, I would bet here too myself, but okay, so.
Yeah, so I bet $25, and the villain somewhat quickly called.
Okay, so pot's
And the
now
turn,
about 104.
yep,
Okay, yep.
the turn is the deuce of spades, and villain checks again. And here's probably a mistake based on sizing compared to maybe how I would play now compared to back then. But hero bet's $45. I'd probably make it closer to 75 now.
Yeah, I would probably just bet. I mean, here's the thing. You could overbet this turn. I mean,
Yeah,
one of the so I mean, when you start with 400 here, so you've three bet it to, you said, to 22, right? I didn't put that in there. Three bet to
yes,
22. So, and you start with 400. So, and you've bet 25. So you've got like 350-ish left moving to this turn. You could bet like 100 here and then just kind of give up on the river. You know what I'm saying? Because usually, or you could even
yeah,
bet like 125 here, because and give up at the end. Because if you like make a crazy overbet, and this is structuring correctly, right? You're not allowed to do this. You have to picture this, right? And if you've been learning, I'm sure you can picture this. Like, let's say you bet 125, right? So, you're kind of laying a price here. If you were to bet pot size, your bluff has to get through 50% of the time, right? You're betting 104 to win
yep,
104. If you bet 125, it's got to win like 55, 60% of the time, right? But the way that you structure this, you don't just get a green light to bluff any turn card. It's your equity coupled with the fold equity that makes it profitable. So you don't really bet 125 with just nothing. You do it with equity. But I really do feel like you can basically make a pot to an over pot size bet here on the turn and then just give up on the river. Now, usually you're not going to be sitting here with naked flush draws, right? Usually you're going to have more equity than that, but still,
yeah.
I still think it's, 45. Because the problem with 45 is you're going to get yourself into a little bit of a guessing game here at the end too. Like this is not. I don't know if you caught
Agreed.
I don't know if you caught the beginning of the call, one of the first calls or the second call where I talked about turn variable sizing. This is not a spot to use turn variable sizing. When I was talking about turn variable sizing on that hand where the guy had the 7-8 of spades and the board came out 6-6 deuce with two spades and a 3-bet pot, and he had defended against the small blind on the button. If that guy had bet flop and he called and then the turn was a brick and the guy checked, he could use that 1/3 sizing on the turn with all the hands that he would want to bet with. His nut hands, his protection hands,
Yeah,
his draws. Here, this is different. You don't want to do that because you don't know if he's going to continuing to call with 9s or an 8. You basically want to make a play that's going to get him to be indifferent to fold out everything but a queen here. And then take all your fold equity, couple it with your equity in your hand, and that makes it a profitable play. But I think it sounds like to me like you know that. So check hero 45.
yeah. And villain calls again. So we got a pot
194.
of about 194.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the river is the king of hearts, and the villain leads for 100.
The villain leads for 100. Wow.
Yeah, and let me just give you some quick background here. So, this is he's somewhat he doesn't bet thinly. This villain, as I've played with him a few times here, and decently long sessions before this, and doesn't really bet thin. Likes to get to showdown, things like that.
Yeah.
Not even necessarily making those types of like showdown blocker bets. Like he's more of a check call type guy or whatnot. So I thought it was pretty polarized when he led for 100 here.
Well, it's certainly. I mean, polarized. So what do you mean by polarized?
Just for this villain specifically,
Right.
I thought it meant 2-pair plus.
Right.
Just
Right.
Based
Of
on
course.
his
Of course.
tendencies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I
or
was,
of course the complete bluff.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. So when you look at this, really, the only two pair that should change anything here on the river and the king is him having squarely king queen, right? Because let's take a look at the suit distribution here too, and this is important with hand reading. I always talk about, hey, like it's important to recognize the flop distribution of suits in order to figure out how likely it is that someone makes a backdoor flush. Now here you have the backdoor flush draw, but we can still look and see and try to find some bluffs here, or try to find some two pair that he could have run into that continued to call the turn where the river changed things. So the only one of that is really king five of spades. If you look at it, it's queen of clubs, eight of spades, five of hearts, deuce of spades, king of hearts. So
Yep.
you get king queen of spades, that's king queen. All right, so that's the king queen that we were talking about. But the only other hand that he runs into two pair with the backdoor flush draw coming out would be king five of spades. And the reason why that's important is that we were going to make the assumption that if he didn't pick up spades with bottom pair on the flop, that he wouldn't continue to the turn bet, right? Like he shouldn't have king five of clubs here, right, on the turn.
Right.
But again, you sort of get yourself into a guessing game by a little bit downsizing here on the turn. So he bets 100. Yeah, this one's really, I mean, here's the thing. What draws does he miss? The problem, and I think I see where you're going with this, and I remember your email, and I remember when I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. So you're like, well, he's polarized, like he's going to have some bluffs here, he's going to have king queen plus. Obviously, you can't call, right? You can't call with 10 high, right? Now, let's say you had like ace jack here. If you really thought he was polarized, you could probably call with ace jack high, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with your hand, again, it's queen, 8, 5, rainbow, turns the deuce of spades, rivers the king of hearts. You think he's polarized, and I agree with you, but you don't have the hand strength to call. But the problem specifically with your hand in 10-7 of spades here is that you're blocking a lot of the bluffs in there. Like I'd much rather
like I block 6-7 of spades.
Well, you're blocking 9-10. The 10 of spades in your hand is really bad. You're the 10 and the 7 because you're blocking the straight draws on queen 8-5 with the 7 and the 10 that pick up spades, right?
Yep.
Whether it's jack 10 of spades, 9-10 of spades, 6-7 of spades, 7-9 of spades. Do you see what I'm saying? Like I would much rather have like, oh man, I'd rather have something that didn't. I'm trying to think of what you could possibly have here that, well, I mean, it's tough. Like, I'd rather have Jack 3 here. Do you know what I mean? Jack 3 of hearts to make this play. It's just, it's, I mean, I think I would just fold for those reasons. I can sort of see where you're saying with it, but.
Yeah, so this is where it goes off the rails, Bart, and this is probably a pretty poorly played hand, but the result is kind of funny. So I'm thinking about all the hands you could have, and I'm like, my first instinct is, okay, I should raise here and blow him off of some Jack 10 type hand. But again, I have the 10 of spades. Obviously, we talked about that, etc. Or a 10-9 or 6-7 of spades, all that good stuff.
Right.
I look over at him, and this is a guy who's usually jovial and talking and laughing and all this, and he is stone-faced and sweating and looking forward. And I'm just like, okay.
Well, that usually means that he's nervous and he's bluffing, right? Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, that's what I was assuming. Right. But I actually started laughing when I looked at him because I had never seen him look like this before. So I just started laughing out loud. Mm-hmm. And as nuts as it is, I look at him. I'm like, so you're bluffing this time, and you're not very happy about that. I'm like, okay, well, I have a really weird hand. I can't really raise at this point. And I just flick in $100 and tell him I think he has 6-7. And he says, you're good. And he flips over 6-7 of hearts. And he asks, I flip over my hand, and he's like, wait, what is that? What do you have? And I just slide forward the 10, and I'm like, 10 high. And never made a call like that before or after, but it was just the weirdest, I don't know, went way too much on a live read and got lucky hand.
Your hand's not strong enough to call, man. You can't call with 10-7 when you lose to Jack 10 and 9-10. You know what I'm saying?
That was like, after making the call, I was like, that was a terrible call because I'm losing to 9-10 and Jack 10. But I have no idea what came over me.
Plus, I mean, again, it's just like one of these things. And like I said, I didn't know the results of that. But again, with your specific combination and blocking your hands, like, you're just losing to some accidental stuff here. And you don't, you've got a 7 in your hand. So that means that there's only 3 specific 6-7 hands. I mean, I guess he could have he can't have 9-7 either. 9-7 of spades. You've got the 7 of spades in your hand, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the only
exactly.
open-ended hand that he can have is 6-7 of hearts, 6-7 of diamonds, 6-7 of clubs, right? So you're beating 3 hands. That's it. 3 hands in 7 high. That's why you can't make a call like this. Now, I have certainly made calls with ace high. Like, say, for example, you had ace jack of spades here, and you'd rather not have the spades, but you took the same thing, and
Yeah,
then you got a bet in here at the end, then you'd be like, oh, all right, well, I'm beating 6-7. I have certainly made calls like this with ace jack at the end, but I'm certainly not going to make a call here with 10-7. So,
yeah,
but it
yeah.
sounds
It
like
was
it
a
sounds to
nutty
me
one.
like
I just was,
you know that. So,
yeah. I was looking over old notes in my boredom time here of missing live poker, and I saw this hand, and I just laughed and said, "Wow, I played so bad and got so lucky that I was missing."
how long ago was this hand played against?
I don't know, probably 4 years ago. I don't know. It had to be a while ago. I haven't played there in a while.
Oh, okay, so it's way back.
I think that club isn't
but
around
you,
anymore. But
but you
yeah,
have the notes written out nicely though.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I
that's pretty
mean,
cool.
I
Yeah.
I always was like a self-studier, but didn't really find good stuff to study with until the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So you would have played this differently with, I'm assuming, a larger turn bet, right?
yeah, definitely. And I think he would have just folded,
Yeah.
knowing the player.
What did he look at you like you were crazy when you called with 10 high?
Yeah, he jokes that he was never coming back again, and the dealer actually, I remember the dealer's name was Jimmy, and Jimmy just started busting out laughing himself because he thought it was the most ridiculous thing
I
that
actually,
he'd ever seen,
it's
which
funny that
probably was.
that brings up a interesting. I had got an email, and I'm going to put this up on my podcast tomorrow. There was an email from a guy that asked me about, and I don't mean to pick on you, but there was an email from a guy that basically said, "Hey, Bart, can you like go over some of the stuff that people do to make a live environment bad?" So he said it would be great if you could go do a detailed podcast on creating a good game and an environment for a good game. So I can tell
Yep.
you that, not a ton of times, but there have been times where I've played against huge whales, where I've been in a situation like yours, although I would never call it 10 high, but I've been in situations where it was really close whether or not I was going to call with some ridiculous hand, like queen high. And then I thought to myself, calling here and being right would actually be an overall negative for the game. So I decide not to do it. If you follow me, do you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it
I do.
could
That makes
actually be
perfect sense.
bad for the game to do
Yeah.
that. So, or
I
it would
and I
intimidate
actually and
somebody. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call-in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.